They say how this nigga come from dirt to bad hoes and bankrolls. Over 100 shots on the E-way, I gotta make it home. I learned from my struggle, stack that duffel, get your hustle on. Go ride for your brother when he call you.
Welcome everybody to Chopping It Up with Dizz and Los. Today's episode is brought to you by Costa Nostra brand. Go to costanostrabrand.com to join the family. As you can see, just me today, no Los. He got called into work or something. You got to stay late. But, hey, we're going to do the show. We're going to talk about what else is there. Any news happening around in New York? Any news? Oh, the Giants. About time. I've been saying it from beginning of spring training after I saw a couple games. And I know the defense was very easy. They weren't giving the packages to everybody. You know, they weren't showing Jackson Dart the packages. But I saw something in him. I saw a spark. He has some legs on him. He can move. He has an arm. And he just has that aura around him, you know. He was, you know, hyping up the coaches, hyping up the teammates. And, you know, he's going to start week 4. Dable pulled the string on Russell Wilson. And I think it was more of after the game, Dable wasn't committed on saying if he was going to pull Russell and everything. But I think after you looked at the film and you looked at the mistakes that Russell Wilson was doing, the first and goal from the 6-yard line, 3 passes that went out of the end zone, no one touched the ball, and one he ran, and he got stopped. That's stuff that a rookie quarterback will do. So if you have a rookie quarterback on the bench, just put him in. You know, you saw week 1, Neighbors was getting upset. He was just frustrated. The ball wasn't coming to him. You saw this game against the Chiefs, where I think it was winnable. I really thought it was winnable. You saw Neighbors, 13 yards. You know, Russell Wilson threw 15 passes to the running backs. Cam Sadabu, who was the bright side of the whole game. Tracy unfortunately got hurt, but Cam is an RB1 for the Giants. You know, he was, 60 yards rushing, 60 yards passing, 120 yards. And you know what? Go look at everybody else who was drafted before him in this last rookie class. He's leading the league in rushes and touchdowns. The Giants, I think they just had to do this. I think it was more of a organization and team thing than it was just Dable trying to save his job. Because I do think it doesn't make a difference. Dable is gone at the end of this year or probably halfway through the season. You put the quarterback in and see what he can do with them. I do think the Yankees, we'll talk about that when Los comes, and the Mets. But you take a look at, what the Giants organization was trying to do and build with Dable and Daniel Jones, and look what happened. He's in the Colts looking like he's Peyton Manning. Saquon Barkley is at the Eagles looking like he's, Barry Sanders. Well, he is a good running back, but looking like he's the top running back of all time, jumping over people, and stuff like that. And every move Dable did, every move the Giants did was just bad, and it just turned bad for the whole organization. We were the laughingstock last year of the NFL because we let go of Barkley. This year is probably the Cowboys because of what happened to Parsons. But, you just got to pull the string. And like I said in the beginning of the year, you got to start him. Just throw him out there. Just throw him out there. Our team was not going to do anything. We weren't going to make the playoffs. We weren't going to make the playoffs. We weren't even going to sniff the playoffs. I know Los and I were talking about, what week Jackson Dart would start. And, I said probably earlier, he said, if it starts early, if he's going to start early, then our season's going to look really bad. Let me just get a drink here. I'm excited because Jackson Dart is someone that can change the whole organization. Now, I know we have to build around him. We have to build that offensive line. But that offensive line did pretty good. The tackles didn't leave. The tackles this past week didn't give up a pressure or a sack. So that shows you something. I just think Russell couldn't run. There was plays that when he'd run, I looked faster than him. And that's something. If I'm faster than you, you got something. You got something, man. But I do think that the next 3 games, the Giants play the Chargers. That's going to be a tough game. Chargers defense is good. Their offense is good. I expect them to lose. Then week after that, they play the Saints. That's a game Jackson Dart can win. And that's the game that I think we will see how he handles being on the road, because that's in New Orleans. It's the first road game for him. It's a loud stadium. And I do think that we should win that game. And then after that, the season goes into hell. We got the Eagles moving on after that. 2 weeks after that, we got the Eagles again. We got the Green Bay and the Lions coming down the road. And it's a gauntlet, but I'd rather just throw the rookie in there. And I'm not expecting anything out of this season right now. I'm done. But I just want to see if Jackson Dart takes the next step. Every week he needs to get a little bit better. A lot of those plays that Russell was not getting any passes to and pass completions and stuff like that, Jackson Dart would just run out the pocket. And that's the difference with Russell and Jackson Dart. Not just the arm strength, the aura and all that. It is his legs. And that's one of the most important things to have as a quarterback. You have to be able to move out of the pocket. If you're standing like a statue in the pocket, eventually you're going to get hurt. Look at who was it? Aaron Rodgers a couple of years ago with the Jets. I mean, he couldn't really move. It was last year. He couldn't really move, and he was getting injured. He was getting hurt. He was getting hurt, getting sacked left and right. Look at Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, his line is terrible, and he can move a little bit, but it's just those little instances of just getting to the right outside tackle and going for about 5 yards. So I do think that this weekend is going to be a little excitement at Giant Stadium. I know Los is probably going to that. His first start, that's going to be something to be a little in memory box, like how we were when Eli first came in and started. We all knew Eli was going to be something. And if you go and you look at it, what Dable's always been saying, people ask him, "You think Jackson Dart is ready for this?" He always said from the get-go, he said, "We wouldn't bring him here if we didn't think he was ready." Do I think he's ready? Hey, he's been playing all these years in the high school and college and at the top level. Now he's going to go, play his first, what he worked all his life for, his first NFL game. I think he'll be ready for this. I honestly do. I honestly don't. I don't think they're going to win, but I'll wait until we have our pop-up show coming later on this week. So, that's something that we have to look at. Cam Seattle, man, do I think he'll survive in a whole full season? I don't know, because, man, he just leads with his head. He looks like Juggernaut from the movies. I think his running style is going to hurt himself, but that's what we love about him, He's like a bowling ball. He just bounces off people and stuff like that. He ran over a couple people with some crazy blocks too, and they got hurt because they were like, "Oh, my ribs and everything." But I think week after week, it's going to hold up. He's not going to be able to hold up the way he runs. But hey, he's a spark right now. He reminds me of Darren Sproles. He's a Darren Sproles and like Mike Allstat. That combination. He's a bulldozer. Plus, his hands are good. He's quick. He can throw the ball too. So I think the Giants you put in Neighbors, Dart. If you want to put Scam there, so far Scam is looking like a good running back that we can use. But again, like I said, his career is going to come short if he doesn't stop running that way. He has to figure out what he can do. That should be something to look at for the next coming years. Also, their record, they might get a good pick this year in the top 8 maybe. Get a good offensive lineman maybe. Maybe core up the safeties and the corners or something like that. But I think you go offensive line. Make sure you protect what you got back there. So So we will see. But I do think that the Giants' future is bright. And I do think that Russell Wilson, we might not have. Sunday night was probably the funeral for Russell Wilson. I said it last week on our show, 2 weeks ago. I said that the Cowboys, it was going to be his funeral, and then he decided to pull an Undertaker on us and get up from the dead. But I do think that the Chiefs have that game. That is the last time I think we will see Russell Wilson. And I'll also tell you this: if they don't trade Jameis to either Bengals or another team, that the talk is, I don't think Russell's going to come into the game if Jackson Dart gets hurt. I think it's going to be Jameis Winston. Or, if something's going, I just don't think Russell can go. His ego's too big that I don't think he can go back after, getting pulled and, benched and then going back out there. But we'll see. And you know what? Jameis has a backup, one of the best people to have, best locker room people to have. So, what? It'll be exciting the next couple of weeks for the Giants and Jackson Dart. Now, I wanted to talk with Lois about, we were going to talk about the Mets and Yankees. The playoffs are coming up, and it does look like the Mets just choked. Soto making a huge, huge error last weekend. This is the first time since April they are not in playoff contention. Now, the Yankees, they're only 2 games back, with 6 games left. They can do something, but Toronto's got to lose. But I'll wait and talk to Lowe's because he was hurt. He was hurt when the Mets choked. But I'll wait for when we do the pop-up show to talk more about him and the Yankees. Going back with the NFL Week 3, there was a lot of good games, and a lot of games that were just like, whoa. Like the Cleveland Browns beating the Green Bay Packers. The Philadelphia Eagles, that Rams were one of my locks, Lowe's locks. They should have won last year in the NFC Championship, but the weather was, all jacked up. But man, they started out like a bat out of hell. The first half, the Eagles did not know how to play as a team. It was just terrible. It was a terrible, terrible first half for the Eagles. Something must have happened, in the locker room. They made adjustments, and then the Rams couldn't adjust to their adjustments. And then you saw what happened. A.J. Brown started getting hot. Jalen Hurts started getting hot. So it was a very and then the punt blocked. The field goal blocked, and the guy taking it all the way back, defensive lineman for the Eagles taking it all the way back for a touchdown. I really was shocked that the Eagles came back and won that game. Then you had the Minnesota Vikings just putting a whooping on the Cincinnati Bengals. And if I'm the Bengals, I'm calling Giants right now, trying to get Jameis Winston or trying to even get Russell Wilson because you need something. That team, if they don't – okay, Minnesota's a good team. Their defense is good. It was in Minnesota. I understand that. But you had Carson Wentz as a quarterback. We all know that the Bengals' defense is terrible. But you have the number 1 receiver in all of NFL out there. You have probably a top 10 receiver on the other side. And you probably have top 4 running back in the back last year. So, it was just terrible. Chase Brown gained 3 yards as a rusher. 3 yards. Now, he caught passes, but 3 yards rushing? Jeez Louise. But, yeah, the Bengals need to do something. The Bengals need to call Cincinnati, Cleveland for Shador, or they need to call the Giants, or I don't even know who else is out there that's a backup that's willing to move. Because that's the first thing. If I was another team, that's the Miami Dolphins, I would be calling up Cincinnati. I'll be calling up Cleveland, and I'll be calling up the Giants. Hey, can we get Jameis over here? Because Tua, he's done. Tua is afraid of getting hit, and if you're the quarterback of an NFL team, you can't be afraid to get hit because that's what you're going to get. And, we all know Tua's history with his medical history, with his concussions. So I just think he has to really reevaluate if this is what he wants to do for the rest of his life, because he's going to get hurt. And he might get hurt to a point where he can't even walk or talk or anything like that, and you don't want that. Another shocker, like I said, was Green Bay losing in Cincinnati. Then we come to Monday night last night. Man, oh man, that game was good. It was funny because in one of my leagues that I'm the two-time back-to-back champion of the fantasy league, Matt Goffrey's league, I was playing one-on-one against him, and it basically came down to Monday night last night. I had Gibbs, and he had the kicker from Detroit. And let me tell you something. That game was going back and forth. Derrick Henry fumbling. Derrick Henry throwing a pass out of nowhere. Derrick Henry fumbling again. So it looked like it was going to be a good game starting off, but then Detroit just took over. After David Montgomery ran that 70-yard touchdown, the whole air went out of that stadium, and Baltimore knew that they were going to lose. Now they came back, and Andrews made a touchdown and stuff like that. But still, then, there was like a minute something left. They were down by, I forgot how many points. They were down by, I think, a field goal. Or no, maybe a little bit more than a field goal. And then David Montgomery busts off this, sweep to the right. And it's like a 40-yard run. Now, mind you, I was winning that fantasy game that me and Matt had. I was winning it. All he had to do was take a knee or just slide down. But what does he do? He goes and scores a touchdown. So the kicker kicks the field goal, and Matt gets that 1 point. And I lose by a 0.2. He had 110.86. He had 110.86. I had 110.84. Crazy game. But, man, the Baltimore Ravens have been in two of probably one of the best games this year so far. The Buffalo game and this Detroit game, and they lost both of them. Baltimore was my prediction to go to the Super Bowl last year. It's my prediction this year. It was my prediction this year, but I do think Buffalo Bills might go. But because Baltimore is just something's not right. You got one of the best running backs of all time behind Lamar Jackson, one of the best quarterbacks of all time. And, Lamar just looked frustrated. He looked confused. What Detroit did was they had a nice spy on Lamar. Lamar wasn't getting no rushing yards. Wherever Lamar went, that spy went, and he didn't fake, even when Lamar did his jerks and stuff to go left and right, he stayed with his flat footage right there and then just went right for Lamar. Great defense schemes that the Detroit Lions did. And, so Detroit looking like the team in the NFC against maybe Green Bay, but we don't know. It's going to week 4. So, but we'll talk about the Giants when I get Los on. We'll talk about Jackson Dart. We'll talk about the Mets and Yankees playoffs coming. Los, I don't know. He's probably somewhere on the top of his building over at work because the Mets are choking. But hey, like we said last week, Yankees fans don't worry about that. We've been there before. We're just waiting for the playoffs to start, and then that's when our season starts. But I'm going to end this real quick and just let you guys know, hey, every week we're going to try to have 2 shows on, Los and I, during the football season. We'll probably have we'll have our show on Wednesdays and Thursdays. One of those on Thursdays is probably going to drop, and then probably like Saturday or Sunday, do a little show, do some parlays that we did. I did not hit up any parlays. Los, I think Los almost hit last night, but Derrick Henry needed 2 touchdowns because he had Derrick Henry, Ahmad St. Brown, and I think he had Gibbs as touchdowns. And they all came through, but he had Derrick Henry for 2 touchdowns, and it should have been. There was times when Baltimore was down and they got stopped, 4 downs. You know, crazy. Detroit, all the respect to Detroit, but guys, I'm gonna end this now, and we'll go ahead and get Los on the rest of for our little picks and our parlays at the end of the week. Remember, guys, this show is brought to you by Costa Nostra Brand.com. All right, guys, you have a good one.
They say I just need to come from dirt to barrels and bank rolls. Over 100 shots on the E-way, I gotta make it home. I learned from my struggle, stack that dough, forget your hustle on.